Hey there folks, Phoenix Aurelius here. Thank you so much for joining me for this laboratory update for the Phoenix Aurelius Research Academy for May 2024. Right now I am at the future site of the Phoenix Aurelius Research Academy in wild, wonderful West Virginia. We are near the border or the edge of one of our properties areas right now, and just enjoying all of the shade and all of the exceptional weather that this time of year has to offer. That being said, May was a pretty busy month. We had finished the Transpersonal Alchemy course the very last day of April, I do believe, or the second to last day of April. So the first couple of days were still spent getting the last lessons up and other things into May. And then I also had to finish doing the Aurelian Analysis for IDF Wellness Research course, which finished around the 23rd or so of this month. We still had a couple of days after that where we were uploading some more resources and other things, but both of those courses are now recorded. They're available for purchase whenever, and I feel really solid about them both. I had a great time teaching them. Thank you to everybody who joined us for the actual live filmings of them, the live classes, and now they are available forevermore on our Teachable platform. So I do believe that the Transpersonal Alchemy course is already on there. The Aurelian Analysis for IDF Wellness Research may need a couple of other supplemental videos that I would like to have on there over time, but all of those should be available here very soon if they're not already from our education page. During the month of May, I was very busy with IDF Wellness Research. As most of you know, I really only work on close family and friends and things like that these days as I'm gathering some research, but I had a very dear friend of mine reach out and say that her sister really needed some help and was experiencing symptoms that were very congruent with schizophrenia. And any of you who've watched our Alchemiculture podcast episodes with Jerry Marzinski and Sherry Sweeney, you'll know that we talked a lot about the conventional approach to schizophrenia just being possibly incomplete. And now I actually have some data on that by being able to work with this individual. So the basis of the Sherry Sweeney and Jerry Marzinski episodes boiled down to essentially that schizophrenia is a condition that is largely created by or coincides with demonic activity or interdimensional entities inside of that person's space. And what we found with this particular individual that I worked on was that that was absolutely true. Demonic possession was as high as it could possibly be. There were also some ancestral entities and other forms of interdimensional entities inside of the space, and even a little bit of possession by both of those. But for the first time, I actually have data showing that there are interdimensional implants in the etheric body of an individual's brain, and the area of the brain in the etheric space of the brain. So it's not necessarily the physical part, but the area where the physical fornix is, the etheric area of that is where these implants were actually put in, and they allow voices to be registered. Now what's interesting is that the fornix actually deals with part of the brain that deals with vocal memory. And so we found that to be very interesting. Also, along with this, we also found that the auditory nerves, that there was auditory neuritis, that there were a couple of other things that deal with the auditory centers of the brain and the fornix in particular. And there's a lot of medical research out there showing that people with schizophrenia oftentimes do have some sort of abnormality in the formation of the fornix, particularly in the glutamatergic receptors or the GABAergic receptors and fibers inside of the fornix, where there's too much glutamate as a active neurotransmitter, excitatory neurotransmitter is what that's called, and not enough GABA, which is a down-regulating neurotransmitter. And so there's all of this activity in the fornix, and it's oftentimes conceived by, standard allopathic medicine, medical research, that this too much glutamate creating excitatory response inside of the brain is getting processed somehow as a vocal memory that you're hearing voices talk to you. But what we have actually seen over here is that that is definitely true, but that there is an interdimensional implant. And furthermore, I ended up contacting our very dear friend Michelle DeVries, who turned me on to Sherry Sweeney's work and Jerry Marzinski's work in the first place, and maybe you've seen her on a couple of episodes of the Alchemiculture podcast as well, but we talked about it and we did another custom IDF investigation. We found that demons actually seek out people with these very particular C4 anomalies. C4A, C4B is a particular SNP or a gene that gets encoded in a couple of different ways, and certain mutations and or polymorphisms make a person susceptible to having these problems in the fornix, and demons and other interdimensional entities are scanning genes and genetic material and being able to predate upon individuals with these particular genetic mutations or polymorphisms that create the predisposition to those diseases in the first place, and that's the kind of mechanism that draws them to certain people as opposed to others. So there are physiological components. There are definitely some very energetic, or what we could refer to as spiritual components to it, based on the research that we have right now. Now, this is singular points of data, meaning that we are only running on one individual right now and then some investigations. Over time, we'll be able to understand more by fleshing this out and possibly even running a complete study group on people who have been diagnosed with schizophrenia to see if this is true all the way across the board. We've been running some experimental broadcasts to see what types of beneficial effects that we can make, but so far the work is still ongoing, so I don't have any conclusive data for you yet, but I thought that that was very, very interesting and very much so worth mentioning. Additionally, I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but a lot of people have reached out to me needing exorcisms and the removal of other entities, not just this case with schizophrenia, but a couple of other cases, breaking curses, things like that. Those of you who know me know that that is kind of one of my areas of forte. It's like all the subtle energetic stuff that other people don't know how to do or aren't very competent at. Those are types of things that I'm very passionate about doing, and so we've had a lot of people, close friends, hit us up and say basically, look, I think such and such or this person or whatever put a spell on me or cursed me or hexed me or whatever else, or they're, you know, using theurgical methods to send demons my way. And we've seen quite a few of those cases here during May. I was also busy with the CHIO work and creating a bunch of custom IDF holograms. We're currently testing out some new IDF holograms. So when we inherited the CHIO business from Don Paris, which is the inventor of the SE5 and also the CHIO units, or a Chi organizer is what a CHIO stands for. When we inherited that business in late April from Don Paris, there were already 25 different programs that he had created that were ideal for CHIO instruments. And of course we offer all of those, but there were some things that I decided that I wanted to also be able to offer. And so we're running some split tests and checking out a couple of different things because we're actually here at our property testing out Starlink Internet, being able to find things that are going to neutralize the negative effects of that radiation on our property and in our home was one of the things that we wanted to really check for. And because we were taking a flight out here instead of driving this time and exposed to unreasonable amounts of radiation in the plane with that had free Wi-Fi and, you know, all of the tablets right behind your head in the seat and all of these other things, we have been testing out a couple of EMF protection types of things, and so far so good. There's still a lot of work to be done there, but suffice it to say that I have been an extremely busy bugger working on all sorts of different IDF solutions. Also during May, Christian, who some of you probably know him as our marketing and media guy, he takes care of a lot of website development stuff for us, especially things that are a little bit more technical and need some custom coding elements to them. He also takes care of all of our videos, our ad sets. He runs the Instagram and Facebook and, you know, all of those other things for us. He came up to actually film how to make a Spagyric tincture video. Now, some of you have probably seen a video that I made way back in 2017, before we were even at our current facility in Utah, where I showed a method using moringa of how to make a spagyric tincture, but it wasn't as complete as I'd like. But that video gets a ton of hits online all the time, and we wanted to be able to update that and to actually show proper techniques and proper standards the way that we do them now at the Phoenix Aurelius Research Academy, because just in the 7 years or so since I initially filmed that, we have a lot more equipment, we have many more standards, we have our own IDF equipment that have been able to create standards. Things have evolved massively just in the last 7 years. And so we wanted to make a video showing the way that this standard should actually be created. And it's really going to be less for educational purposes, although it can be used that way, but more to be able to show people the vast differences between the way that we create what is known as a simple spagyric tincture as opposed to the way that they are being created by other companies. Just basically showing that, you know, we are not just head and shoulders, but like torso head and shoulders completely above basically anybody else that seems to be creating these things. And I have to give the caveat that we're not doing this to kind of tout our own boat, but to be able to show that what you're getting when you use the term spagyric or spagyric tincture is not a one-to-one. And we want people to be informed about what the differences are and how we approach things from a very, very holistic angle, taking energetics and physiological processes and the best of biochemistry and phytochemistry and putting everything together in the most next level way that we possibly can, just as we try to do with absolutely everything else. So that should be coming out before long. We did this on freeze-dried turmeric, which is amazing. You get to see the color changes from this bright orange tincture. When we add those salts, it turns blood red. You especially get to see how fast those changes happen because we were able to use ultrasonication as per our standard. So it's a really amazing video. At the time that this releases, I don't think that that video will be fully edited and available yet, but you will know about it because we'll send out emails and you'll start to see it on social networks and other things like that once it is finished. That same day, though, even though we worked on turmeric because it's a very photogenic one, it translates to film really well and you get to see the color changes and other things like that. It was actually a leaf day when we filmed that, and so I took the opportunity, since I was in the lab anyway, to make a couple of other leaf tinctures, some of which we've already made before, like holy basil and mistletoe. But I also worked on 2 new plants that I've not worked on, especially with the standard, and we were able to create a standard and test that out for greater celandine as well as cinquefoil. So that's really cool. So that day it was greater celandine, cinquefoil, freeze-dried turmeric, holy basil, and mistletoe. And the holy basil actually came from a friend of mine and a very famous herbalist named John Slattery. This was some holy basil that he had grown in his yard. So very excited to be able to stock that in the apothecary. We also had a huge order, a 3-gallon order of a freeze-dried cilantro spagyric tincture come in from one of our very favorite and most long-term white labelers. And so in order to make freeze-dried cilantro, there's no real place where you can just go buy that. We have to make it ourselves in-house, so it was a lot of time buying fresh cilantro, cleaning it all up, chopping it, and then getting it into the freeze dryer. In order to do 3 gallons of it, we had to have 3 enormous caseloads full of cilantro in order to make the amount of freeze-dried cilantro that we need. And of course it loses an enormous amount, like 95% of its weight from fresh to dried when you freeze dry, and we need a lot of freeze-dried material in order to make that. That's one of the things that sets this product apart from pretty much all other suppliers. We carry it in our apothecary as well, but our white labeler, who, I don't know if I should really mention his name, but he's pretty much, if you look for freeze-dried cilantro spagyric tincture, he's going to be the only person besides us that is really carrying this. And that's why it's so awesome and so efficient for cooling down the body, for regulating pitta, for helping to detoxify from heavy metals in particular, especially when used in combination with shilajit, which this white labeler also has ordered some of, and we had to blend some of that up. And if you use like spirulina or other types of algae and things like that, you can create a trifecta that is able to help to chelate and safely bind and eliminate heavy metals from the body. And so that's what this freeze-dried cilantro is doing. So it had tons of freeze-drying work to do. And then we were prepping during the last couple of days of the month to get out here. We actually left on the 28th of May to be able to get here to our wonderful property. And now we're here and we actually have the internet up and running, which has been a huge barrier. We are literally in the middle of nowhere. There are, 2 to 3 miles between us and the nearest person. So being able to have an internet option that we can actually rely upon. We've tested it in very cloudy and rainy weather so far. We've tested it. Today is a brilliant day, very few clouds in the sky, and we still seem to have absolutely superb internet reception. So that's really, really fantastic. And we are kind of in process now of thinking, how can we get our business up here and move ourselves and our business up here. So over the coming months, you'll probably hear a lot of updates about that. There's a very good chance that we'll probably have some deep discounts and some sales going on in the apothecary to make the traveling significantly easier for us. And now that we have standards and all of the other equipment to be able to easily reproduce all of the items that we have in the Spagyric apothecary, it should be pretty easy for us to make a lot more of those things once we get up here and to stock them more regularly, because the initial research of creating the standards takes a long time. That's what we have on our shelves right now in the apothecary in Utah. Once we get up here, we've already got the standards made, so it's all just production time. It doesn't take a lot of scientific documentation and split testing and all these other things in order to get us where we want to go. So yeah, things are probably set to change over the next couple of months here. Keep an eye on these videos, keep an eye on our emails and updates, because as we know more and formulate plans, you will be the very first to know. If you haven't already, or if other people are interested that you think would be interested in our work, send them to our website, have them sign up to our email newsletter list, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, because anytime we make videos, then you'll be notified as long as you hit that bell notification, and that will keep you up to date with everything that we're doing over here. At any rate, thank you guys so much for all of your support. It really is a blessing. We wouldn't be able to do any of this work without you. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at support@phoenixaurelius.org, and we'll just take it from there. Talk to you next time.